Weirdvoice, First Anthology, Chapter 6.
So here, Dante and Virgil are walking across the lake of what we're going to find out are the frozen tears of Satan. And after that, I saw 1,000 faces made dog-like by the cold, for which I shudder, and always will when I face frozen fords. And while we were advancing toward the center to which all weight is drawn, I, shivering in that eternally cold shadow, I know not if it was will or destiny or chance, but as I walked among the heads, I struck my foot hard in the face of one. Weeping, he chided then, "Why trample me? If you've not come to add to the revenge of Monteperti, why do you molest me?" Monteperti is this battle in which it's this kind of defining moment in the long and utterly confused rivalry or mutual hatred of the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, these two alliances with the emperor and the pope. It was a way of making sense of all the kind of convoluted and baroque enmities that existed between all the different little city-states. And this guy frozen in the depths of hell, somebody kicks him in the head, and the first thing he thinks is, "You're here to punish me more for Monteperti." That's how big this is.
E io, maestro mio, or qui m'aspetta, sicch'io esca d'un dubbio per costui, poi mi farai quantunque vorrai, fretta. Lo duca stette, e io dissi a colui che bestemmiava duramente ancora: qual sei tu che così rampogni altrui? Or tu, chi sei che vai per l'Antenora percotendo rispuose altrui le gote, sì che se fossi vivo troppo fora. Vivo son io e caro esser ti puote, fu mia risposta. Se dimandi fama, ch'io metta il nome tuo tra la...
As Dante goes through hell, especially higher up in hell, the dead want to be remembered. They want somebody to tell their story to the living so they aren't forgotten. But as he gets lower and lower into hell, they want to be forgotten because they know their stories are so terrible that they don't want people to remember them. They're so ashamed.
Ed egli a me, del contrario, o io brama, levati quinci e non mi dar più lagna, che mal sai lusingar per questa lama. Allor lo presi per la cuticagna e dissi, ei converrà.
It's the head who still has not identified itself. It says, "Your flattery is useless in this valley." At that, I grabbed him by the scruff and said, "You'll have to name yourself to me, or else you won't have even one hair left up here." Right? It's these things from his past that he just can't. It's so hard for him to let go, and they fill him with rage, sort of rage at everything that he's lost, and which includes the whole history of Florence.
Io aveggia i capelli mano avvolti e tratto gli era venti d'una ciocca, latrando lui con gli occhi in giù raccolti. Quando un altro gridò:
Bocca means mouth. It's a name too, but it also means mouth. And remember earlier the faces were dog-like with the cold, right? There's this kind of dehumanization. So now Dante knows who this is, and he can carry his story up above, as he's doing now, right, in the poem. He's telling us 700 years later the shame of Bocca.
E piange qui l'argento dei Franceschi, io vi
The damned, they don't want their own stories told, but they punish each other, they torture each other by revealing their identities to Dante. We had already taken leave of him when I saw two shades frozen in one hole, so that one's head served as the other's cap. In Italian, he says, l'un capo all'altro era capello. So capo, capello, cap. It doesn't, I don't think it actually comes from capo, which is head, but they almost sound the same. Heads frozen together, and here this damned soul, he hates the one he's chewing on so much that he will reveal his own identity in order to reveal the identity of the soul he's chewing on. I mean, this is an incredible scene. The rage of the one is such that they're frozen up to their necks. They can't move anything but their heads. But one is still so furious at the other that for the rest of time, for eternity, he's going to just keep chewing on his head. Oh, you who show with such a bestial sign your hatred for the one on whom you feed. And he says in Italian, che tu ti mangi, who you eat for yourself. So I think that's even more sort of horrible than on whom you feed. Tell me the cause, I said. Here again, this is the offer. I can tell your story. And Dante says, if that with which I speak does not dry up, if I'm still able to speak. Ugolino, there's a number of things that Ugolino did that could have been treacherous enough to end him up here. But I think one of the things that's telling, this whole canto is going to be about things that don't get said. This hideous eating of the other head is also sort of the other thing that you can do with your mouth, right? Besides speak, is chew on the other one. Chew on, fill your mouth with flesh.
His mouth uplifted from his grim repast, that sinner, wiping it upon the hair of the same head that he behind had wasted. Then he began. Thou wilt that I renew the desperate grief, which wrings my heart already to think of only ere I speak of it. But if my words be seed that may bear fruit, of infamy to the traitor whom I gnaw, speaking and weeping shalt thou see together. Thou hast to know I was Count Ugolino, and this one was Alighieri, the archbishop. Now I will tell thee why I am such a neighbor. That
so
by
what has
effect of his
happened?
malicious thoughts,
Ugolino,
I was
after switching sides a number of times in these combats between Genova and Pisa and Florence, is finally captured by his enemy and locked up with his sons and two of his sons and two of his grandsons in this tower. So he's got this inexplicable dream. He's a man with a kind of, in Antenora, so he's a traitor, but we don't know exactly, which of his actions counts as a treachery here. And he has this dream about these wolves pursued by dogs, and presumably he and his sons and grandsons are the wolves. Right? They've been locked in the tower for months. It's as if they're already starving to death.
When I before the morrow was awake, moaning amid their sleep, I heard my sons, who with me were, and asking after bread. Cruel indeed art thou, if yet thou grieve not, thinking of what my heart foreboded me. And weep'st thou not? What art thou wont to weep at? They were awake now, and the hour drew nigh at which our food used to be brought to us, and through his dream was each one apprehensive. And I heard locking up the under door of the horrible tower, whereat without a word I gazed into the faces of my sons. I wept not, I within so turned to stone.
So here we learn what is the cruelty of Ruggieri, is he walled up the Ugolino and his sons and his grandsons within this tower. We see Ugolino's response to this terrible situation is actually to withdraw further, right? He won't speak without a word. I did not weep. I turned to stone.
Within so turned to stone.
He can't respond to his children in this moment of terribleness. Right? He refuses to be human.
And darling little Anselm mine said, Thou dost gaze so, father. What doth ail thee? Still, not a tear I shed, nor answer made, all of that day, nor yet the night thereafter, until another sun rose on the world, as now a little glimmer made its way into the dolorous prison, and I saw upon four faces my own very aspect. Both of my hands in agony I bit, and thinking that I did it from desire of eating, on a sudden they uprose, and said they, Father, much less pain 'twill give us if thou do eat of us. Thyself didst clothe us with this poor flesh, and do thou
Dante
strip it off.
Floats the possibility of cannibalism, right? I bit at both my hands, and they think, oh, he's eating himself, and they offer to let him eat them. And the canto never tells us if that happens, but it constantly hints that might be sort of the last horror. This, I think, is a sign of Ugolino's betrayal of his children.
When we had come into the fourth day, Gado threw himself down, outstretched before my feet, saying, My father, why dost thou not help me? And there he died. And as thou seest me, I saw the three fall one by one between the fifth day and the sixth, whence I betook me, already blind, to groping over each, and 3 days called them after they were dead. Then hunger did what sorrow could not do.
And I think this is an amazingly reticent tercet, right? Where fasting had more force than grief. What exactly does that mean? Dante sort of brings us right up to the edge of cannibalism. And of course, Ugolino is chewing on the head of Ruggieri. You have every clue you need, but you also have plausible deniability.
When he had said this, with his eyes distorted, the wretched skull resumed he with his teeth, which as a dog's upon the bone were strong.
Antenora Blues was adapted from Cantos 31 through 34 of Dante's Inferno. It was performed by Cristina Marras, William West, and Lawrence Grimm. Weirdvoice is an anthology of haunted stories. Each chapter is created from scratch by the Ice Core Collective in Chicago. The Ice Core Collective is Michael Gillio, writer and performer; Exol Yoraheta, writer and communications; Aviva J., writer and performer; Ele Matelan, Foley artist and sound designer; Matthew Muniz, director, producer, composer, and production manager; Brett Neveu, writer and producer; Maya Reeder, sound design, mixing, and producer; Rich Sparks, visual artist, writer, and producer; and Neil Verma, director, field recordist, and first anthology producer. Special thanks to Leah Cole. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. For more, visit our website at icecorecollective.com. Weirdvoice is recorded at the studios of Northwestern University's School of Communication and in the field. And now, quiet time.